Hey, Gabriel Blake,
Hey, Gaybros Jose.
where are we today?
I'm at home in my apartment in a completely different location than I usually record from.
Oh yeah, you are?
That's a lie. I
Okay.
assume.
And I'm in the same location in Chicago. I haven't moved since the last time. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty hot in there. No?
Really, I just went to check my thermostat. So, to give you people an understanding, it is 7 p.m. in San Francisco and it is 77 degrees inside.
Okay, it's almost 9 here, as it's 7 in San Francisco, and it's 91.
Inside?
No, not inside. Because this is a civilized city and we have ACs.
Well, I can't argue there. I wasn't being taken out from my alley today. So.
I'm talking about civilized people. What did we watch this time?
This was your pick. I have to wonder if this was you being a little sadistic, because you asked us to watch the 2003 original Oldboy, part of the Vengeance trilogy.
And the funny thing is, like, until today, I didn't remember that Spike Lee had made a remake.
I don't know how you forgot that. That was like one of the most we were friends at that point, and I think we both were like, we're not going to see this.
Did we really talk about it?
How could this was one of my most anticipated films because I loved Oldboy in my early 20s, and then at the time I loved Spike Lee, and I hadn't yet learned to hate Josh Brolin. So we had to have discussed this.
Probably we did, but the thing is, I only watched Oldboy for the first time like 7 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So probably, yeah, when the remake was, yeah.
Oldboy, you said no, and I said, well, loser, I won't talk to you.
You're not my friend anymore. But yeah, the reason why I wanted to watch it is because it's back on the cinemas for the 20th anniversary, and this is a movie that I remember.
The cinemas or a cinema in Chicago, because it's not.
No. It's in several of them here. I'm pretty sure. Let me just check. But it's like and on the AMCs. So I'm surprised that it's not in AMCs in there.
I'm gonna be annoyed if I could have seen it a different way than I actually saw it, which I won't mention. I don't know. There's a lot of screens showing Sound of Freedom. Fuck, there it is. It's an artisan film.
Of course it is.
Playing at 7 p.m. and 10:15 daily at the Metreon and the Kabuki. Oh no, not at the Kabuki, only the Metreon. Wow. I would check that. I would have gone to see it.
Yep. Oh. Here it was everywhere. It was at the Alamo, it was at the ANCs, it was at the Music Box, but the Music Box were only playing it like very late on the day. And I felt like, oh my God, that's true, because it was so violent, so edgy, that is I was curious about, like, was it? Or was it because it was like early 2000s? So I was interested in just seeing about, like, what is the perception of this movie by 2023.
I was also very curious to watch it because I watched Oldboy. My best guess would be like 2008, 2007. And I remember it being so violent, I wasn't A, willing to watch the remake, or B, willing to watch Oldboy again. So revisiting it, 15, 16 years later, I was curious about my reaction as well.
Yeah. So, as this was my pick, I guess that you have to summarize it.
Yes. So I'm going to apologize for the mispronunciation of every single name. But this follows the titular character, Oldboy. We open the film. Well, there's a trick opening. We open the film, he is drunken, taken to a police station, and there's a very comedic scene where he just drunkenly pisses off police officers over and over and over.
And literally piss.
Yes, and while this is extreme gore horror, It's also camp horror. The entire film is much more campy than I remember.
Do you think that is horror? I would say that it's just violence. I would be like willing to go with thriller.
A violent thriller. Yeah, it's not. You're right. I misspoke.
Yeah.
So Oldboy is a drunk who has a 4-year-old daughter and a wife, and
his name is not Oldboy.
What is his name?
His name was Daesu.
Oh yeah, Daesu. But doesn't at some point he say, "My name is Oldboy"?
No, is that they are old boys. Is like how they call like the alumni from the school.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. So Daesu, he is picked up by his friend, who's like, "Hey, officers, I'll make sure he doesn't drink again." It's a rainy night. He calls his daughter to say, "Hey, it's your birthday tomorrow. I've got your present." And then he kind of drunkenly wanders off while his friend talks to Daesu's wife on the phone. And then he just disappears. But we see that he was picked up off the street and put into a furnished apartment that is completely sealed off from the rest of the world. When his hair gets too long, the apartment fills with gas that knocks him out. They shave him, bring him food. Every time he tries to slit his wrists, they come and they save him. And he's there for a long time with no interaction with any human beyond a TV, right?
Yep.
And he's there for 15 years with no idea of why he's there, what's happening. And then he just kind of is released where he was kidnapped. But
one more thing. He actually sees on the TV, he sees the news that his wife has been murdered and that they actually saw blood from him in the scene.
Yeah, they say that there were fingerprints on glasses and that the only thing stolen from the murder scene was a family photo album. Clearly they're framing him. Like, people are out to get him. We don't know why. We're gonna find out. So he's released and he quickly meets a chef named Midu. Midu, for some reason, is attracted to him. Like his personality, they like each other in this really weird, fucked up way.
Okay. Can I say something? Did you think of Amélie?
Yeah, I did.
Because this character looks straight from Amélie. It could be Amélie directly. About like how weird, like how your brain is working is like no one can fathom him. But sure, you live in your world. Yeah.
So there's a scene right before this that I skipped about how he had trained in martial arts for 10 years of his imprisonment, and then he went up against a gang of thugs and he's like, let's see if these are real skills, and then he just like beats up this whole gang and he's like, oh, they work in real life. So he meets Midu. He explains his story. So his daughter has disappeared because whoever imprisoned him murdered his wife. The daughter was adopted, so Midu kind of goes up finding her, but Daesu's bond gets stronger and stronger. Ultimately, they use the Chinese restaurant that prepared his food to kind of track down a source of what's happening. He finds out that he was in an apartment building, which is a private prison where rich people pay to have their enemies like captured, tortured. I don't think tortured, but captured.
Not really tortured. It's like just kept there, and they actually are like, I mean, I wouldn't say like well kept, but it's like they have some commodities. They have a TV, and they have like food, I don't know, like everything they need. Yeah.
So he starts to.
One thing. Before he's let go, is like he was trying to escape. He was trying to dig a hole on the wall. And it's like when they let them go, it's like they hypnotize them.
Yeah.
And then he is hypnotized, and then they just release him somewhere.
Oh, it's interesting. Are we seeing the story through the lens of an unreliable narrator if his memories aren't good? Or are we seeing fact?
And I think that is facts. It's true that leaves a bit of open door to interpretation about like how he shows up in that chest, But let's just go with like he's reliable.
Okay. So he tortures the guy who runs the prison, which I think is named Mr. Park. I'm gonna call him Mr. Park. Mr. Park gives him basically the name of the person who paid to have him locked up. So he tracks that guy down. His name is Woo Jin. And is that right?
No. He doesn't give the name. Is that he gives him a tape of the mission of you have to imprison this guy.
Oh, that's right. He had a recorded phone call.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
sorry.
It's like no. It takes like multiple steps, and it's a bit more about like how he finds it is because the other person reveals himself.
Yeah. So throughout this process, eventually, yes, it was more complex than I was saying, but he finds out who his captor is, which is a wealthy businessman named Lee Woo Jin. And they're able to confront each other, and Lee Woo Jin tells Dae-soo, I did all this, and you have 5 days to figure out why. If you haven't figured out why, I'm gonna kill Midu. And if you do figure out why, I'll kill myself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how much detail do you want to give here?
No, I mean it's
like the twist is good.
We don't have to give it all. We don't give it all.
Ultimately, he figures out why, and then there's the climax.
Yeah, and it's a good climax. I just feel like it's a strong. I feel like it's a strong story. You know, it's like it's 2 hours 15, and the person that I thought the most of when I was watching this movie, it was Tarantino. Not only because of the signature violence that I feel is like, yeah, that's the style of violence that Tarantino also can like. Tarantino may make it like a bit more stylized or anything, but it's that scene with the hammer on the corridor on the hall that they fight like for 3 minutes and it's just a single take. It's like, I can imagine Tarantino having a boner watching this.
Well, it was like a 2D shooter.
Yeah, like a shooting. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure because Kill Bill Volume 1 came out in 2003. They came out at the same time. I thought, in my mind, I was thinking Kill Bill Volume 1 happened in 2001, so he stole the showdown at the House of Blues from Tarantino. Because the scene was like the shitty Korean apartment building version of the House of Blues.
Well, but there is a difference. Like I think that Tarantino was going for the she's perfect, you know, the bride is perfect when she's fighting, and this is a bit clumsy, you know. It's a bit more about like the idea of he's almost a superhuman, about like he can get stabbed and he still survives, and he overpowers all of them, but it's not like a perfect choreography or anything like that. It's not like the bride, like
he only trained against a wall.
Yeah, for training against the wall, that was pretty fucking good, you know. But I will say that the scripts and everything is like, for me, this was super engaging. I have forgotten like how engaging it was. About like, it has been more than 2 hours. It didn't feel like it.
I agree. And I was so compelled that I was like, am I gonna watch the Spike Lee version now? I think I might. I don't know. I'm not committing to it, but I liked it enough to be like, I kind of want to see this in English now.
I'm pretty sure that you can find a dub version, okay?
Yeah, you would not ever stop judging me if I watched a dub version of a foreign film.
Probably not, but I don't know if I would forgive you for liking the Spike Lee remake. It has a 39 in Rotten
Princess
Tomatoes.
Mononoke dubbed English version is pretty damn good.
I'm going to pretend that you didn't say that, okay?
So let me
did
ask
you like
you this. Okay, I'll answer that. Yes, I liked it. Jose, was it as violent as you remember?
No.
Right? I was like, it's almost like a cartoon.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was telling. I was telling my boyfriend that when we were coming back, I was saying, it's funny that this feels like a cartoon. All of the characters are like cartoon versions. It's like the antagonist, because I feel like I couldn't justify.
Some gray area.
There's some gray area, but it's like you can sympathize in some kind of way, like with him. And I feel it's like this is James Bond villain level of caricature.
I wish James Bond had the subtlety and nuance that Oldboy does, because I was like, this is a believable good villain.
It was. Well, but it's still like, the thing is like having like that surgery, like the heart, like we don't know if that's true or not, but it's like all of that is like, it feels like this is like Bond material, all of this. It's like Daesu, maybe not, but it's like all of the investigation that they do and all of the cartoonists, the same way that when we're talking about Full Metal Jacket, and I was saying it's like, hey, the slow motion doesn't work at all. It feels like so heavy-handed that I was pissed with it. I feel like here, like all of the stop frames, that they stop like for 5 seconds, like when he's like with the hammer about it, and it's like they have like the line and other scenes. I feel like this is perfect tension building. This is something that is like definitely this guy has seen Tarantino stuff, and because it feels super pulpy, it feels like, hey, I'm not going for realistic, I'm going for you're going to have a blast watching this.
Yeah, and that's something I actually commented to you, I think it was before we started recording, but I didn't remember this being this movie. I would define it as campy. I don't remember this being campy in the slightest. I remember it being so serious, so hardcore.
I told the same to my boyfriend. I told him, like, dude, I remember this movie being serious. I remember like, he's like, oh my god, this is so twisted, so sick. And I was like, this is super fun to watch.
The comedy? I was like, so like the final scene, we see basically the memory, the impetus of all of this, and they just have this like over the top clunky classical music playing over it. Like I was like, this is like the weirdest joke to make at the end of this film. I don't understand, but I love it.
I also love like the uses of what is it, like winter or summer?
Oh yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
The first season, I don't remember like which season, but I think that they used it like twice.
Yeah, they had excellent music in this, like excellent like knowledge of classical. I think there was some original composition in it. I liked it.
I was mind blown. Honestly, I was like super entertained. I was just thinking about like how the twist and everything. There are like some pieces that I felt like this could have been a bit tighter for just knowing exactly how this connects to the next. But as I told you before we started recording, I watched it at the Music Box Theater, and as if it was like a 20th anniversary, like most people probably had watched it, and people were like just laughing like all together at the scenes, and they knew what it was coming. It's like, this is a beloved movie, but it's like one of these beloved movies that I get why it's beloved, because it's a really, really enjoyable movie.
Yeah, it's not even just solid. It's a good movie, and I had forgotten that it was shocking and good. Maybe I just didn't understand it. Clearly, I didn't understand it the first time. Maybe I don't this time, but it was a different film, and I liked this one.
Do you think that it was a different film, or we were different? And that is that we were more impacted by violence?
Well, if I did see it in 2006, I would have been little Mormon boy that was very sheltered, so I could understand how this was extremely offensive to me.
The thing is that for me, it's like I only watched it like 7 years ago, and I'm pretty sure, or 8, but it's like I'm pretty sure that I had watched like much more violent stuff back then.
We are absolutely adding Climax to the list of things to watch on this.
Well, it's not
as bad as I remember it.
But when I watched it, I told you, it's like, for me that wasn't that terrible. Gaspar Noé says at the beginning, it's unapologetically French, so you already know what you're getting yourself into.
I also have like legitimate post-traumatic stress, not the disorder, but just like post-traumatic stress from a horrible 2-day acid trip I took. So I feel extra anxious watching people go through. Maybe it felt like a sentence from.
No, that's fair. This movie, I have no idea who thought that it needed a remake, an American remake, because I think that the topic.
Spike Lee. He directed Do the Right Thing.
I know who Spike Lee is. Thank you. Just thank you. do you think that it could have worked? I mean, we didn't watch it, so it's like we are like going to be like speaking out of our asses. But do you think that Tarantino could have pulled a remake of this?
100%. I mean, I don't know that the script had enough to like elevate it to Kill Bill quite as high as Kill Bill Volume 1, but he could have easily made this a kick-ass like what
Yeah.
you have a
No, I was going to say that it's like I just think that is like the way that Tarantino elevates stuff is about like, hey, I'm going to be like getting B-series, pulp, all of them like mixed together, and campiness, and I'm going to be like making it so palatable and enjoyable that you're not going to think that this was directed by John Waters. You will hate it.
Could Oldboy or could Daisu be played by Uma Thurman? Because if the answer is yes, then I think this could have been just mind-blowingly good. But I need the synergy of Tarantino directing Uma Thurman, because that's like some sort of magical potion. Because Uma Thurman is not a good actress in anything that's not a Quentin Tarantino film. Okay, Nymphomaniac Volume 2.
Okay, and that's exactly what I was going to say. It's like those 5 minutes are like the best of those two movies, and probably the best that Lars von Trier have ever shot.
My sister gave me this book, a super pulpy gay teenage romance, or early adult romance, about the Latino son of the first female American president who falls in love with the Prince of England. And it's called Red, White, and Royal Blue. And I read the book.
There is a Prime show now, no?
They just made it into a really bad Prime show. But I can't remember why I was telling you this. Oh, because the mother, the first female president, is from Texas, so she's got a southern accent, and she's kind of like this progressive from Texas. Do you want to know who plays the character? The president?
Sure.
With the southern accent, but it's not southern?
Uma Thurman.
It made me so sad. I'm not watching it, but my husband is when I'm in the same room, and when Uma appeared on the screen, I like gasped yesterday, and Pablo was like, What's wrong? And I was like, she was in Pulp Fiction. What is she doing?
Yeah. Just imagine what it would have been if they didn't actually, how do you say? I don't know how to say this like properly, but if they had ended in better terms, Tarantino and Uma Thurman, and they have kept working together.
Yeah, it's sad. Apparently they reconciled. He finally apologized.
Okay, a bit late, but yeah.
But yeah, so that was a very long answer to your question. Could Tarantino have done this? 100%. In fact, he could have written this. I would have believed it. It's a bloody tale of vengeance with solid character writing.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. Should we go over the questions?
Yes.
Would you watch Oldboy, the 2003 version again?
I mean, the answer is yes, but it's going to take a few years. Yeah, I'll watch it again.
I will watch it.
Still a level of violence that's difficult for me to enjoy as entertainment, but it's not horribly offensive.
I will watch it next week.
Wow.
This is how much I enjoy it. It's one of these movies that I feel very popcorny about. Like I can just get the popcorn and I'm going to be like just with friends or whatever, and I will still get a blast. Would you recommend Oldboy?
I'm gonna be honest. There's not a situation I can imagine where someone asked me for a film rec and I would be like, you should watch Oldboy. But maybe that's because I'm afraid that it's offensive to others. I would be afraid of offending people by saying, watch this movie where people pull teeth out with pliers and use the claw of a hammer.
That's fair. When the movie was starting, as I was saying, that there was like an opening section by the director. What is the name? Sorry, I completely forgot. Park Chan-wook. Park Chan-wook speaks about the movie, and it presents this in a very accurate way. My boyfriend asked me, he's like, would you recommend this to your parents? And it's like, 100% no. This is the definition of something that I would never recommend to my parents. But I would recommend this to almost anyone that tells me, hey, I want something violent. about vengeance or an Asian film.
Would
An
you
Asian
recommend
film,
this- Would you recommend this over Kill Bill?
I had the feeling that most people that they're like the target audience of Kill Bill, they have watched that movie already. But if someone tells me,
Saying there's Kill Bill market saturation.
I think so.
we
I think
don't
that.
avoid-
But it's like if someone tells me this, like, hey, I like recommend me a movie. It's like, what do you like? I like Tarantino. It's like I think that this is something that I could actually just come up with. That is like, watch Oldboy.
All right. It's interesting because many of the things you would recommend because you're uncomfortable for. Yeah, this is the first one where I'm like, I'd be worried about offending people. Anyway, yeah.
I didn't feel like too offended, you know. Maybe that scene when they play the tape back, I was like, yeah, that would have been a bit. I don't know. I see.
That would make me so uncomfortable because I am one who have had my special home movies like aired in public, and I was like,
okay, that's fair. Would you remember this movie?
absolutely not, and I don't understand why. I remembered the premise. I remembered nothing else besides the very shocking scenes of violence. Like I remembered those acts. In terms of the story, I had forgotten 100% of it.
I remember that there was a clock component, a time component about you have to figure it out before it is date. I remember one twist, you know. I didn't remember like the backstory of the villain. So there was a big gap in there, but I remember like the fighting scene in the corridor. So I'm going to go with yes. I remember enough for actually not being surprised, you know. Is there anything artistic about it?
I mean, the Koreans have elevated violence into, honest to God, a modern dance that is so stunning at some moments, and the skill of the angles and the camera work is insane. Yes, there's a lot that's artistic about this, as well as the storytelling, the character development, all of it. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that the cinematography was like pretty decent.
Especially for being 2003, I was impressed. I mean, it looks good for 2023.
Oh yeah. And I was wondering about that. Is like, hey, is this because this is a remaster and it has increased like the quality a lot, or is it because it was really good back then? So, is it a timeless piece?
Yeah.
It's a tale of vengeance, of revenge, of true revenge.
Even in terms of technology, the antiquated recording was stylistic, and then there was a flip phone, and the rest, there was no other reference to technology even, I think.
No, I don't think so. I think that it was just there is a part of the penthouse that I felt is that this feels pretty 90s, this feels pretty Matrix.
Or like Die Hard.
Or Die Hard too. Yeah, it's like, yeah, well, I mean, you definitely like these action classics, you know, classics, because at that point, 2003, The Matrix was like fairly recent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Would you turn Oldboy into a TV show?
Absolutely not. I don't want to spend any more time in this world. I will take as little time, and it's good time, but it's like war films that we were talking about last time. Like, I never look forward to watching war films, and sometimes I'm like, oh, that was pretty good, like The Hurt Locker. But I'm never going to look forward to a war film.
That's fair. I think that I'm going to go with yes. But it's just because I like the world that is depicted and the silliness, you know, and the cartoonies like below it, that a part of me just wishes that there was like more of it.
Do you think the tone, the stylistic approach to the storytelling could be sustained for like 8 hours of a miniseries?
I'm not sure if it will have like a bit of a diminishing returns effect. But at least what I've seen here is like I couldn't mind seeing a bit more of it, you know. Could this have been a short?
No.
It's 2 hours 15, and I think that it's not tight, but it's like is pretty solid. It doesn't feel like there is a lot of fat in it. Do you think this movie could have been better?
Honestly, just what you mentioned, I feel like they could have tightened up a little bit from like 45 minutes in until like the very middle of the movie. It just gets a little like wandery.
Yeah, when they're investigating, when they're like trying to figure it out, like what is the next step, but it's very open-ended. It feels a bit more like, sure, a bit of just apply suspension of disbelief here, because some of this is very far-fetched. But I think there is like a small detail. I don't think that it detracts like so much from the overall. This is a good movie. As with that, this is a good movie. I guess that we should score. And this was my pick, so you had to score first.
Well, it's not quite as good as Stoker, another film by.
No. It's by him.
Yeah.
I felt offended by that movie.
I remember, Jose.
I remember even like just like telling someone that is, I have a podcast about cinema, and this person starts like just describing this movie. They say the title, and I had completely forgotten until he started like just getting to the point of it. It's like, oh my god, that piece of. He's like, yeah, I think that we watch it and we record about it. Yeah.
You're welcome. Okay, this was better than a good movie. I'm not quite sure where to take my score because it's not a perfect film. I'm going back between an 8 and an 8.5. Let's just settle on an 8.25.
Okay, my score is a 8.5.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, for me, really solid. I was impressed.
Yeah, me too. I was very impressed. It's not what I remember, and it honestly made me curious about the Spike Lee version.
It didn't. See, for me, it was like this was one of those cases of why do Americans need to do a remake of this?
I don't know. I can't tell you. Why did the French remake Friends?
They did?
Yeah, they made their own Friends.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Remakes are something that shouldn't. Well, remakes in another country are things that they shouldn't happen.
It's so weird because I must. Oh no, he did The Handmaiden. That's a film of his we both loved.
I like it, and it was also like a bit twisted. But no, I think that he also did the Stoker. I think that you were right.
No. I'm looking at his IMDb page. He did Stoker in 2013, All Too Late Friends, The Handmaiden. But that's all I've seen by him. I think I may have watched 3 streams immediately after I saw Oldboy.
Did you watch Decision to Live last year?
No. Yes, I did.
You did?
Yeah. My husband took me to it. I hadn't even heard of it. He's like, let's go see this.
And was it good?
Yeah, it was really good. Oh, that ending is burned in.
Just as I haven't watched it. It was
the end.
Screw you. So what are we watching this?
So I'm in the mood for something a little bit lighter. So we're gonna watch a horror film about zombies. One of my favorite Cillian Murphy films of all time. 28 Days Later. Poor Jose. An entire movie just played across in his facial expressions.
Dude, since you said that it's like my favorite zombie movie, and like it's not a George Romero interpretation of zombies.
We're gonna have a good time talking about this.
Yeah.
And if you haven't listened to the recording of Sunshine that we did before we watched
I'm expecting like a similar kind of conclusion about like your eyes opening after which is like, oh my god, this wasn't what I thought.
Your eyes are the ones that are going to be open.
They're going to be PO, basically, like just like in disapproval, like no.
I can't wait.
I mean, there was a good talk. Super happy that we like it so much, and to all of that audience out there, if you are okay with seeing an octopus alive being eaten, I think that you can tolerate this movie.
And very stylized violence. It's not the torture porn I remember.
Yeah. Thank you so much for putting it with us. And
wash your hands.
okay, bye.